I-25 male have been dating my girlfriend, Jen, for 9 months. 5 months ago, Jen lost her job when her company went under, and around the same time, she had a falling out with her roommate. She urgently needed housing, but was in an awkward position with employment status, so she reluctantly asked if she could move into my house. I agreed because she had already spent the night several times and moved in under the condition that she would begin looking for work to contribute. When I asked Jen if she wanted to be exclusive on our second date, she asked what I would bring to a relationship with her. I answered as pragmatically as possible: a stable income, loyalty, companionship, willingness to compromise, and consistent attention to my appearance and hygiene. I didn't care much for the question at the time, so while she seemed mildly satisfied with what I said, I didn't ask her in return. I've held up my end of the bargain, but after moving in, Jen only looked for work for about 2 weeks. She now spends most of her waking hours on Instagram, TikTok, and Netflix. I raised the issue with her indirectly by asking her how her job search was going, and she said nobody was hiring, which I find hard to believe. Well, yesterday in the evening, I finally hit my limit. Jen drank a bottle of wine that I was saving for a romantic evening date and spent the rest of her day screwing around on her phone. After work, I sat her down and asked what she thought she brought to the relationship. Jen stared at me for a few seconds, as if I had asked the dumbest question in the history of mankind. Then she erupted, frantically pointing at herself. Me! I'm the prize! From my perspective, this was coming from a woman who had just gotten day intoxicated off of wine, watched Netflix, and ate all my food. I honestly couldn't contain myself, and I burst into laughter. Every time I looked back at her, Jen would give me this incredulous look while shrugging, which only made me laugh harder. Jen got really angry at me and let out this wailing shriek sort of sound. She stormed off to another room, where I'm 100% sure she just screwed around on her phone more. I haven't talked to her since. I feel like I might have gone too far here. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. I laughed when I read it because I agree with you. If she can ask you that question and you're able to provide a very good answer, she should be able to do the same. Girlfriends or not, you should give her a deadline to find a job, or she may need to move back in with her parents. She needs to not only bring herself to the relationship, but also some finances, groceries, and cooking and cleaning skills. What makes her think she can just freeload off of you? I'm the prize? Girl, please. What an arrogance. No person is a prize. No person decides that they're the prize, and certainly not a Netflix-watching bum. At this moment, I doubt she was really in such a difficult position as to move in with OP. OP's a kind-hearted person. More than me, because there's no way I would let my 5-month-old relationship move in with me. He must set a deadline, or even better, kick her out. Her audacity is astounding. The girl probably agreed to exclusivity the first time she visited his place. Kick her out. It's not a coincidence she had a falling out with her roommate at the same time she lost her job. She has no intention of working or contributing to anything. She's a parasite looking for a host. OP, please do yourself a favor and don't have unprotected intimacy with this bloodsucker. If she sees that her gravy train is ending, she may find pregnancy as a way to make things permanent. This is the advice I would give my son. Don't get trapped by someone who wants to be taken care of without contributing anything to the situation. It begs the question, what did she do to have a falling out with her roommate? I think I know. My sister got married 2.5-ish years ago and blended her daughter pre-tween and her husband's son tween and daughter tween together. Or at least they've tried or wanted to, but it hasn't worked out that way. My sister's daughter has an awful father, and he died when she was a baby. My sister defended a lot from him until she'd had enough 5 months into her pregnancy and left. So she's not known for making the best decisions all the time, even with support, and she's had a lot of it. Her husband's kids don't know their mom, but she's alive out there somewhere, but doesn't want to know them. I don't know how long my sister and her husband were together before they got married, but around 2 years is my guess. Anyway, it was pretty clear pre-wedding that her husband's kids were not happy with the idea of blending families. They always seemed so hostile when talking to my sister, or any of us, me, my parents, and other siblings. They would glare at my sister's daughter for no reason, other than she was in their line of sight. At the wedding, they kept moving away from everyone and were saying mean things to my sister's daughter when they were asked to sit or stand together. When corrected, they would tell whoever to shut up. They also never want to play with the other kids in our family, even the kids the same age as them. In the time my sister and her husband have been married, my nieces heard that nobody wants her, that the kids would rather die than sit next to her at dinner, that she's not their sibling, and they hate her, that her step-siblings would rather be grounded than be in the car at the same time as her, that they'd rather be punished than pass her something, say she wants the salt or whatever. It happens when they're out too. I was with them once, and the oldest said he wasn't sitting next to her, looked very disgusted at the very idea of it. They also try to say she smells bad. They act like the other's being punished when sitting next to her. They'll even turn their backs on her and shut her out that way. I started asking my sister if her daughter could come and play with my friends, and my wife and I have loved having her. She comes once or twice a week now, and she always wants to come more. My sister's starting to get annoyed by it, and she asked me yesterday why my daughter's always so eager to be at my house and why she'd rather be at my house than home. I told her it's because her household is dysfunctional, and she's been repeatedly reminded two people don't want her there and actively go out of their way to hurt her feelings. I said no kid wants that. She asked me how I could judge and then told me it was really none of my business to comment like that. I reminded her that she asked. She shut down and stormed off. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Even without asking, someone should tell her bluntly. Her kid is hurting, and she does nothing? If she wants to stay blind to these issues, I wouldn't be surprised if her daughter runs away the second she can. She's failing her own kid every day now, but I recommend keeping an eye on this situation, as those kids can escalate to violence or endangering your niece. They're going pretty out of their way to hurt her just because they're angry at their dad. This won't just go away. Your sister's a garbage mother. Sorry, OP. And what about their dad? Is he at all open to hearing about this? Maybe it's worth a try. After all, his kids are really unhappy too, and they aren't coping in a way that'll benefit them as adults. Otherwise, CPS if neither adult deals with this issue. OP, it's possible your sister won't let your niece come to your house anymore. She seems like the kind of person who would put her pride over her child's well-being. That poor girl. These stories about absent parents and neglected kids are not really stories about who's an idiot and who isn't. It's always clear-cut who the idiot is. These stories are more reminders to readers about being careful who you have babies with. OP's sister had one with an abuser and then married a dude who had kids with a woman who abandoned them. And now they've gotten together to make one big dysfunctional family. And so the circle of abuse continues. My sister passed away recently after a long illness, and before she died, she made very clear instructions regarding her funeral. She specifically did not want our brother John to attend or receive any of her ashes. To provide some context, growing up, my sister wasn't kind to John. John also was not great. They fought like cats and dogs. As an adult, she sought therapy, recognized the damage she had done, and tried to make amends. She apologized multiple times and reached out, but John refused to reconcile. He was clear that he didn't want a relationship with her. When she became ill, my sister made one last attempt to reconnect, asking John to visit her. He declined again, stating that he had no interest in repairing the relationship, even as she was dying. This hurt her, and she made it clear that if he didn't want to see her while she was alive, she didn't want him at her funeral or receiving any part of her remains. In her view, if he couldn't show up for her in real life, he had no right to be there in death. John showed up at the funeral uninvited. I think our uncle gave him the date and time. In line with my sister's wishes, I asked him to leave. He became angry, caused a scene, and accused me of being cruel and preventing him from saying goodbye. Several family members have since criticized my decision, saying I should have let him stay for closure, saying that funerals are for the living, but I pointed out this was her last wish. He thinks I'm a huge jerk, and I'm refusing to give him anything of hers still. The family's mostly split. Am I the idiot? Edit. It was mostly because they were pitted against each other often, which wasn't their fault. They did the same sport and basically did the same stuff. She also won more often, which didn't help that dynamic, which made him feel invisible. It was the more you do, the more our parents loved you type of deal. Only the winner got rewards and attention. He blames her for his crappy childhood. I didn't have this issue since I didn't have siblings near my age with whom to compete. Our mother was not great. She's already passed away. I don't know why he'd attend if he didn't like her. Was he just there to cause one final scene? Not the idiot. You did the right thing standing up for your sister. She would be proud of you. He can get therapy himself if he's honest about closure and talk to the therapist about it. My twin brother died several months ago. He never stated the wish out loud, but his partner and I enforced his unspoken desire not to have two members of our family at his funeral. It caused a huge amount of drama, to the point where there had to be two separate funerals. But I don't regret a thing. It's exactly like you and your sister said. If they can't be bothered to be there in life, they don't get to pretend they cared in death. From your edit, it sounds like he blames his sister for your parents' choices. I'm sorry. He's angry at the wrong person, and it's a big shame. Your parents deliberately pitted them against each other. If your brother had come around, they both could have made amends, bonded, and hated your parents before she passed. I hope he lets that anger go one day. My son, he's pre-tween, has cerebral palsy. One thing we taught him is to never look down on himself. While we recognize he has limitations and we make accommodations for him, we make sure he knows he's not defined by his disability and that his disability doesn't make him lesser than anyone else. As he grows older, we try to teach him to be more independent, as much as someone his age should be. He's a smart kid who usually gets the highest grades. He's liked by all his teachers and classmates, and he has more friends than I ever had. I'm so proud of him. He's well behaved both at home and at school. Lately, however, he started acting strangely. It all started around 1.5 weeks ago. He started avoiding all of his responsibilities. He used to make his own bed with our help, but now he refuses. He stopped picking up his plates after dinner and started leaving his stuff around. I'm afraid he might also stop doing his homework because he didn't want to do it for the last 2 nights. Whenever I confront him, he straight up says, "I can't, I'm disabled. I have cerebral palsy." One time he even said, "I can't, I'm an R word," and laughed. I was shocked. I told him not to use that word. I asked him if anyone told him that, and he said no. I told my wife, and we've contacted his teachers, but he hasn't told them anything either, and he's behaving well in school. Last night, he didn't pick up his plate after dinner again. I sat him down and told him to pick up his plate, and he screamed at me. He then again said he couldn't because he's disabled and useless. My wife immediately confronted him with, "No, you're not." I was frustrated with him acting out. This time I decided to be more direct and stricter. I scolded him, saying that he was only useless if he acted like he was. Then I said, "Now stop using your disability as an excuse and pick up your plate." His eyes teared up and my wife took him to his room. She thinks I'm an idiot for scolding him and raising my voice at him. I didn't even notice I raised my voice, but that's what she said. Am I the idiot? I should add that he has a rather mild case of cerebral palsy. He's not wheelchair bound, though he needs crutches. You are the idiot. He's a pre-tween. He didn't come up with all of that by himself. Who's telling him that he's a R word? Who's telling him that he can't do anything because he has a disability? Instead of getting frustrated and telling him something he'll hear from other people his whole life, that he's using his disability as an excuse, you should track down where it's even coming from. It's a new behavior. Has he started spending time with a grandparent? Does he have a new teacher or aide? Talked about a new friend at school? Started watching a new streamer? My money's on another kid. Some bullies are calling him names and probably telling other kids not to be friends with him because he can't do everything we can. It'll get much worse if you don't find where the problem is coming from. And while no one is suggesting he should be excused from chores he's physically capable of, are you certain that he hasn't had new physical symptoms? He could be having new symptoms but be afraid to bring them up for fear of what that could mean for him. This is such nonsense. OP's son is refusing to do tests that he did previously, that he could easily do if he chose to. There is no evidence of a lack of care. There's no evidence that OP's son is physically unable to do tasks such as making his bed or picking up his plate after eating that they used to do. Finally, there's zero evidence that OP is ignoring his son's disability or taking it seriously. Yes, the reasons why OP's son is being defiant should be investigated, but OP is not the idiot. I'm with OP on this. My brother has cerebral palsy. However, the bigger problem in his life was a failure to launch because no one ever felt they could hold him accountable. You don't want your son to end up like my brother, 39 and living at home, when he really could have had a career and independence. All those people who let my brother off the hook again and again and again ultimately had neither responsibility for his well-being nor respect for his fundamental dignity. My wife gave birth to our son a few weeks ago. He's healthy and doing great. My wife is doing okay. Physically, she's pretty much fine, but emotionally, she's fragile right now. She's dealing with some anxiety post-baby and some other mental health problems she had before pregnancy. She's worked on them in therapy, but the pregnancy and postpartum hormones have flared up some issues. She's also disappointed she couldn't breastfeed. She didn't try to, but that was in her best interest. Her reasons are not something she shares openly, but I'm aware of them, and so is her family, who knows her history. But she grew up in a home where the women breastfed, and while they understand, my mother and sister are also very pro-breastfeeding, like militant about it. I warned them before my wife gave birth that they were not to try and pressure her or give her helpful tips about it when it was not happening. They didn't listen to me and brought her some info from a breastfeeding group that they're both members of and told her there was zero reason for her not to try. This resulted in me telling them to leave. I let the rest of the family stay since they were good, but I told my mother and sister they had ignored my warning, and I gave them a very clear one. They were shocked. They said my wife never expressed a good reason for not being able to. I stated she doesn't need to answer to any of them. They asked a few times after this when they could visit, and I said not until they understood that they could not cross that boundary that had been set. They brought me into a group call a few days ago and told me they wanted to come see us, and I asked if they were going to respect the boundary. They told me they just wanted to help. I told them the best help they could give us is to be quiet and be supportive of what she's doing. I said otherwise, their help would not be needed and would not be helpful in any way. They accused me of being too harsh and disrespectful in the way I was talking to them, and they felt like they were being punished for looking out for my wife's and son's best interest. I said they're not doing that. They're doing what they think is best, even after everything I said to them. So they're angry I told them to be quiet. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. In fact, you're my hero. I was also unable to breastfeed. Militant is exactly what those lactation consultants were. My experience is you need really strong boundaries if you're unable or choose not to breastfeed. You're doing a great job caring for your wife. Any future interaction should have you wearing matching Fed is Best t-shirts. The help they're interested in is helping themselves feel better about forcing their choices onto her. Thank you so much for supporting your wife and being a good dad and husband. It's wonderful to see someone standing firm and doing the best thing for their family when it comes to overbearing and pushy family. Let your mother and sister learn their lesson the slow and hard way. That decision was all on them.